Hello, and welcome to episode 102 of the Casual Tryhard Podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm James.
And this year, we're kind of going to look... This episode, we're going to kind of look back on the year and maybe look forward to what we hope to see in 2021, other than people.
Yeah, other than people, because we know that's not going to happen.
Not for a while.
Yeah.
But if you would like to get a hold of us with your thoughts on Magic in 2020, you can tweet at us at Casual Tripod.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Casual Tryhard MTG. You can shoot us an email, show@casualtryhardmtg.com. Don't forget, if you're looking to spend some of your Christmas money on singles, you can use our TCG Player affiliate link, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. After following that link, anything you purchase will help go to support the show. If you would like to support us a little bit more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. Every week we do a little pre-show thing, catching up, making sure our mics are working, yada, yada, yada. We record that and feed it straight to our patrons with little to no editing. So it's raw footage. You never know what you're going to hear about. A little bit of everything in there. But patrons get access to that. They also get access to our show notes before the show goes live, so you can kind of see where we're going that week. We also have a Discord channel. There should be a link in the description. There's a link on Twitter. There's a link on Facebook. If you can't find a link, let us know, and we'll send you a personalized one. A lot of good discussions happen over there in Discord. It's a good, quick way to get a hold of us. If there's a question you have that, maybe you want answered before the next episode, or if you had an idea for a show or something like that, hop on over to our Discord and join the conversation.
Yeah, people are putting up their Christmas presents.
Yeah.
There's
some sweet stuff in there.
Someone has a complete, I think, Pioneer Bant Spirits deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that.
Hell yeah.
So we wanted to look at kind of things that happened that were new this year and kind of see where we stand on them. I know some things we've talked about in the past.
Yeah.
But this is just kind of the big wrap up for all our thoughts on 2020 Magic.
Yep.
So, the big thing that happened this year was products. Lots and lots of products.
I guess if you only had one word to describe Magic in 2020, it would be products.
Yes. What is the thing you're going to remember from 2020 Magic? And non-COVID edition, you'd be like, so many products.
Yeah, there was lots of things to buy and no place to use them.
Yes. So the first thing is Secret Lairs.
Yeah.
And
so what do you think about Secret Lairs?
I think I've said this before. I'm fine with them existing, but I just worry about the kind of side effect of wringing too much money out of your consumer base.
Yeah.
The joke online has been for a while that WotC keeps saying this product's not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many products that just aren't for a lot of people.
Right.
Do you feel like you're pushed out of the game because they're not making things for quote unquote you?
Right.
And
there's only so many products that can be not for you before you start thinking to yourself, maybe this game isn't for me.
Exactly. And I think Secret Lairs are towing that line.
Yeah, they definitely walk a line. For the most part, I think I'm fine with them. It certainly seems like 2020, not just in Secret Lairs, but has been the year of the reprint. It seems like everything we got was reprints into oblivion. We had Secret Lairs, we had Mystery Boosters, we had Commander Legends, we had the list, we had Masterpieces. Every single product that came out was just full of reprints. So I don't know that that's going to change going forward. Maybe I just have to kind of come to grips with the fact that my collection value is going to take a hit. And, if I can come to grips with that in my head, I think Secret Lairs are great.
Yeah.
I like the weird artsy styles. I don't necessarily love that you can only get them through their website and you're not really helping out your local game store or anything, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think they're fine.
It is definitely not something that is LGS friendly.
Yeah.
And I think that over the last 12 to 18 months, WotC has not done a ton of LGS friendly things. Now,
I don't know that all
fault.
of it was their fault. Yeah.
Like the you can't like have events thing. I don't think that's not their fault. But maybe I should say 18 to 24 months. Before 2019 wasn't exactly super LGS friendly with some of their decisions, starting with Secret Lairs.
But some of the things that we got this year would have been great for LGSs though.
Yes.
Were we able to have events and were there no product shortages? Mystery Booster, Jumpstart would have had a big effect on local game stores. I think
put a lot of butts in seats.
Yeah.
So then we have this big overarching thing that kind of changed how we interacted with booster packs, and it's Project Booster Fund, which I guess started in Throne of Eldraine.
Yeah, I think it started with Throne. I don't know if they called it that with Throne, but that's when we started getting weird booster packs.
That's when we got the collector boosters.
Yeah. So, speaking of collector boosters, what do we think about collector boosters?
Again, on one hand, they drive the price of cards down.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're just trying to play standard, they make most standard rares super cheap.
Yeah, dirt cheap.
Now, we only really have 2 sets of information, right? Theros and Throne of Eldraine before, everything got weird. But I think even with those 2 sets, it made standard cards significantly cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
So, on that hand, it's good if you just want to play. But on the other hand, it is just kind of rough having, a pack that is $25.
Just recently, I think I've decided that I don't mind that collector packs are more money because, once we're able to get back into stores, I don't know that I'm going to be buying as much, sealed product.
Yeah. They just, again, run that risk of, well, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And, I think it's bad optics, if you think about, a kid getting into the game, seeing a $25 booster pack.
Right.
That's kind of oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Again, the idea of this is a product for the whales or the higher end person. That's fine, but I think that there's not a lot of value in them, which is kind of strange to say.
Well, I mean, it depends how they're going to do them. If they're going to keep doing them like Zendikar Rising, there's plenty of value in the Zendikar Rising collector boosters because you got the expeditions in there.
You do, but if you look at the other cards in the pack, right? I don't know how many expeditions you get in a pack, or what your chance is.
Aside from the box toppers, there was, I think, an average of 2 or 3 in a box.
Okay, but I think a lot of the other cards didn't have a ton of value.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the Showcase Omnaths were $8 a piece.
Yeah, and again, I don't know how much of that is COVID impact.
Right, yeah.
But I think
I mean, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. But just from a making cards more accessible, collector boosters have done that.
Oh yeah.
Just because there's so much more. And I have, the full art foil Thought Seizes from Double Masters.
Right.
Well, they weren't collector boosters, they were VIP boosters, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then we have set boosters, which I even forget what these are. So I'm going to assume that they're bad since I can't tell you what the hell they are.
Well, they're brand new. The only set that's had them so far is Zendikar Rising.
These are the ones that, it probably made more sense for you and I if we were going to crack packs because they have more rares.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, I'm not some marketing person, but it just seems like you've taken the core, thing about your product, and now there are just so many different variants of it.
I'm interested to see where they go with it because there were some strange announcements that came along with Kaldheim that make me think that they're going to be playing with how the set is to be consumed, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Because there's a bunch of cards in this set that aren't available in draft packs.
Yeah, which they've done.
Like
They've done that in. I think they did that in some other sets too, right?
Yeah, but typically they don't make them playable. And some of these are like, maybe they're not the most powerful things in the world, but they're certainly not unplayable.
Well, I mean, there was that dragon from Theros that when it entered the battlefield, everything you controlled got double strike, or when it was attacking.
Yeah.
That people kicked around. Maybe that's playable.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the problem with like current design is when they like shoot to make a card not playable, they keep missing.
Right.
Right. Think about like, I don't think Nexus of Fate was supposed to be playable.
Right.
I'm trying to think of another one that was like, I don't know if Golos was supposed to be like the only thing to do in Standard for a month.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that was, a promo or exclusive or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
I think that like, I guess Nexus of Fate is the most egregious like promo card, but like it only takes one miss a year.
Yeah.
To like sour people on that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, I didn't like buy the weird set booster, so I don't have access to this card.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know how expensive those cards can get, just because like there's only like one playable card.
Yeah.
Like people just crack packs and then like the price goes down.
I'm not sure. I don't know how they're going to be distributed in the set boxes. I don't know if that's like the only way to get them. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know about them. But if they're playing around in this like area though, I believe there was an article. I didn't pull it up to quote or whatever, but I believe there was an article from Wizards that said that some of these cards they specifically put in this like subset or whatever because they didn't want them to affect the limited environment. So now if you're making boosters for constructed with cards for constructed, and then you have this other product that's the same set, but it's cards for limited, it with boosters for limited, it's like you almost have two like simultaneous releases.
Yeah, you have the constructed packs.
Yeah.
And then you have the draft packs, which like, they're doing draft pack and then the set booster.
Right.
And a set booster is supposed to be geared more towards the constructed player at, of course, a slightly higher price point.
Yeah. And like that's kind of my other problem with the set boosters is I think I'm okay with like the 1.8 rares per booster pack or whatever that we're getting from like the set boosters, as long as the price isn't like 1.8 times, 1.8 isn't the right number, but I think I'm okay spending like an extra $1 for these.
Which is that what they are? Are they $5?
There's no MSRP, so I don't know.
Fair.
I would feel fine around $5. I think most of what I've seen them is like $6, and I think that's too much.
In theory, if you're paying $2 for a rare, like for just an extra rare, I mean, the vast majority of rares are 40 cents or $1, right? Like you're just paying like a premium for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't recoup your money.
Yeah.
Right. Like on a normal pack, you like lose money, right? Like if you just were to open a pack and then immediately sell the contents, you are down. Right. And, opening a $5 or a $6 pack, it's just harder for you to recoup your money.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what my numbers were. I opened a box of these and I think there's 30 packs in a box. There's less packs in a set box than there is in a draft box. I think it's 30.
Okay.
But the price is the same. So they are like a little bit more expensive. And I want to say I ended up with like 41 rares in that box.
Okay.
So whatever that works out to. Like, I mean, some packs obviously only had one, but there were a couple packs that had like 3.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. Like I said, I think I would be a lot more comfortable around like $5 than $6.
Yeah.
And that's going to kind of determine whether or not the product is a success or not. And I think that if that margin's so small where it matters to me, like that $1 for the booster pack, like that's probably too fine a line to be walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's going to be really easy to price people out.
Yeah.
Right, if they're
yeah,
too
I mean,
cheap,
if you got like one store where, somebody's trying to get $8 a pack for them, like they're, Modern Master or Modern Horizons packs or something, then like nobody's going to buy them and it's going to put a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah. Right. Or you're like the store across town
Mm-hmm.
and they're $5 there.
Yeah.
Right. And then the store that's charging $8 is just stuck with them.
Right.
So, and then they're like, oh, these don't sell. I'm not going to get them next year or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is VIP boosters.
Yeah. So what do you think about VIP boosters?
These are bad.
I think just all around they're bad, right? There's no reason for them to even exist.
Like, I have no problem with the concept of this is the collector booster for the more premium product.
Right.
But they started out around $100 a piece.
Yeah.
And I think they fell off pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But they were still like 60, 50?
I think they were like 80. I don't know if
Okay.
they ever got down to 50 or 60.
So 80.
Yeah.
And like, I think that was like, I don't know how much stores were paying for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think they were making a ton. But like, how like can you justify an $80 like booster pack?
I have no idea.
That realistically you're going to lose your money on. Especially initially.
In most circumstances, yeah.
Like initially, like, I haven't looked at how much the thought seizes are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they were like $40 or $50 for the foils. The non-foils were like 20 something or 30.
Yep.
At the beginning, because that was like all we had were those, and so stores were cracking them like crazy.
Right.
Right? Like, you can't be like, hey, here's an $80 pack, and you're going to open $40 worth of stuff.
Or less.
Like, it hurts when you open a $4 pack and you open $2 worth of stuff.
Right.
But you're losing $2. It's not a huge deal. I think it really stings when it's like, here's an $80 pack.
And you open $20 worth of stuff.
You open $20 worth of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be like, I don't know, you go spend your $60 on Cyberpunk 2077 and you get a third of a game.
Right.
Which is basically what you got. And the internet has been lit on fire. Right? And these are just that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to get a third of what you paid for? No. Too bad.
Like, it's also really awkward because the whole reason to get these VIP packs was the alternate art borderless cards. Like, there was no reason to buy these other than those.
Yeah.
And then immediately afterwards with Zendikar, they showed us that they can still do like an expedition style card correctly.
Yeah.
Where there's plenty to go around and they're accessible to everybody. And like, why couldn't they just do that for the borderless alternate art cards?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they bring it up on Arena Deck List. When you don't know the answer's money.
True.
And I'm sure it was just like, I think this is a product that we can squeeze this much out of.
Probably.
And on one hand, they can only do it so many times, right?
Well,
but
I don't know.
What I mean, the thing that they can only do so many times is float to their retailers that this should price around $100.
Yeah.
So we're going to sell it to you for $70. Right? And then you get it and you're expecting a $30 profit.
Right.
And then they're selling for $80.
Right.
And you're like, oh man, before I only needed to sell like half this box to break even.
Yeah, now I've got to sell most of it.
Most of it to break even.
Yeah.
ugh, this is rough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I get stuck with these for, for 3 or 4 months, that's just money I don't have.
Right.
Right? So, like, they can only do that so many times. Where, like, wink, wink, there's no MSRP, but we're selling them to you for this much.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to mark them up this much, and then there's not the support for it.
Right.
Right. But no, I think that, like, when there was a cottage industry of what other things can you buy for a VIP booster videos, when that was just like the thing people did, it's probably not a good thing for you.
Probably not.
I guess in this same vein, we talked about this. I saw the video, you read the article because you're a learned man with reading skills, literacy, was how do you feel about the fact that we just get like a million different versions of every card now?
I think I'm a little bit more okay with it now than I was when it started. If you think back to when Throne came out, I think one of my biggest complaints with Throne and collector's packs and showcase frames and stuff was that I was really disappointed with like approaching the set the same way as far as my purchasing and getting farther away from complete playsets of stuff, because I'd open, a regular Murderous Rider and I'd open a showcase frame Murderous Rider and I'd get a pack foil Murderous Rider and I'd get a pre-release promo Murderous Rider, and I'd have 4 of them, but none of them matched, so I couldn't like play competitively with them.
Yeah.
And like that really bothered me at first. But I think now, oddly enough, I'm a little bit more okay with it because I think I'm buying less sealed product and more singles.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way. Like with how the singles market, and again, I don't know how, COVID has hurt this.
Oh, yeah.
But with the singles market kind of collapsing.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't make sense to buy sealed product. Like when I went and bought picked up my 2 Ikoria boosters, you were like, oh, I hope you realize the EV on those boxes is $70 right now.
Right.
It's like, oh, so I just incinerated like $40 by just picking up these boxes.
Yep, pretty much.
And like, I think that if you look at a lot of sets, like the EVs are probably have not been great.
Yeah.
And again, COVID, but also, collector's boosters driving down prices.
It's a double whammy. So
going forward, just buying whatever art you want is fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it just seems like, talking about how you like paper coverage.
Yeah.
Imagine watching an SCG event and basically spending an entire weekend with Cedric and P-Cell going, what is that?
Yeah, that would get old.
But I mean, that's what's going to happen though, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, because Brushfire Elemental, the 2 arts are a million miles apart. Well, I guess there's 3 art. I guess there's not a full art one of those.
Yeah.
But, right, I mean, the 2 arts are a million miles apart. Like, you're not going to be able to recognize them.
That's true.
Right, so, like, the ability to, look at an old card, or look at a card and just know what it does from the art.
Yeah, it's going to be really awkward for, like, Modern and Pioneer, too, because, like, only cards from 2019 and 2020 see play in those formats, and they're all, like, they all have alternate arts.
Yeah, there's 3 different versions of, like, every rare now? Or almost every rare?
And, like, none of those cards are going anywhere. They're not going to rotate, and they're leaps and bounds more powerful than anything else that's been printed, so...
I mean, look at Legacy.
Yeah.
Like, even Legacy, it's like we said before, it's like, here's some dual lands, some fetches, and then a bunch of cards from the last 2 years.
Yep.
So, yeah, like, I'm fine with all the different arts that we have, but at, like, some point, like, okay, it was like, we started with, I guess I kind of threw it at us all at once, right? Because with Throne, they were like, here are the storybook frames, and, oh yeah, here are the full art, or, like, expanded art cards, borderless cards.
And collector boosters, yeah.
Yeah. But like the storybook art, for the most part, those were like uncommons, right?
Well, no. I mean, you had Bone Crusher,
Oh
Brazen
yeah,
Borrower,
that's right. Book. Okay, yeah.
Lovestruck Beast.
But I guess it was a small subset. It was
Yeah.
the adventure cards, and I guess like Zendikar is just the landfall cards. Got the fancy treatment.
Yep.
But it is odd.
Corey was just the mutate cards, I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was very different than like old timey Magic, but then I remember there had 3 different versions of Hymn to Turok, so maybe we're getting back to Magic as Richard Garfield intended.
Yeah.
Like quite literally. It's like, hey, you know what we need? We need 4 arts of Basil Thrall, and none of them should be related in any way.
Right.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, exactly. I need one that looks kind of abstract and cubist, a skinny one, and a fat one. What do they have to do with each other? They have the same name.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, like I guess this is kind of back to the way Magic used to be. I don't know if that was I don't think that was a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I guess everyone has their favorite art of Hymn to Turok.
That's true.
It's sadly not the one that comes in foil. No one likes that art.
That is true. What's your favorite Hymn to Turok art? Are you a wolf guy?
I was gonna say wolf, or like the circle of people, like when you're looking down on the altar.
Yeah,
like
I'm a fan of the cloaked guy, the Quentin Hoover art.
Okay,
I think that one's my favorite.
I think things like Teferi, Master of Time, like pump the brakes on that. Like we don't need 21 versions of that card.
Yeah, there's no world where that's okay.
If the differences in your art require a GIF, for people to see the difference, you didn't do a good enough job making different versions of the card.
Correct.
So, all right. So I think something that we can 100% get behind is a good thing.
Yeah.
Mystery boosters.
Oh man, they were so good. I really hope they do these again.
They should mystery booster all the time.
Yep.
Right? It did 2 things, right? It like put a bunch of cards into Commander and other formats that needed reprints.
Yep.
And it was perhaps the best thing that they've made in the last 2 years.
Very close. If not the best, it's very close to, yes.
Yeah, it was, I think, the only thing that I don't think anyone had a problem with.
Yeah.
Like, I think the hype beforehand, maybe people were like, I don't know. But then, like, after people played it, they were like, oh, this is good.
Yep.
You didn't goof this one up.
Yep, good job.
Yeah, so more mystery boosters, please.
I'm going to kind of lump this together with the next one too, but I would be fine if this was just like an evergreen product that was always available and kind of just had like rotating content where you never knew exactly what you were going to get in the box.
So like every year there is a list of mystery booster contents.
Right, yeah.
And then the next year it changes.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even have to change like the whole contents. You could just like make some substitutions, kind of like they do with the list now.
Yeah, like if you have, what was it, 1,700 cards?
Yeah, yeah, something like that. A lot.
If you change 300 of them, right, that you could just build 300. You could just build different archetypes,
right,
based on changing those 300 cards. You change, a fifth of it. Or something, or a sixth, and then that like changes the feel. Right. On some level, they wouldn't even really have to tell you. Like people would figure it out.
Well, that's kind of what I meant. Is like you wouldn't have to call it Mystery Boosters 2 or Mystery Boosters 3. You could just keep calling it Mystery Boosters, and like not even change the packaging.
Because they didn't. Did they release a full set list for Mystery Booster?
They didn't at first. I think they ended up releasing it, but at first they didn't have a full set listing.
I know they didn't at first.
Yeah.
But like you could just do that and just be like, hey, this is different than last year.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you how it's different. Trust us, it's not the same stuff. Here
But
you
I mean,
go.
I even think it'd be cool to like sit down and draft a box and not know like what year the box came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Is
just
this like a first run mystery booster box? Is this a third run mystery booster box?
yeah. No, I think that would be it'd be interesting. It'd be a good idea.
Yeah, and just have it like evergreen, always on the shelf.
Yeah, just like
Um,
it's a thing.
because I think Mystery Booster did a third thing that we haven't talked about yet, and that is got people that aren't really into limited to play limited.
Yeah, because I think it was just such an interesting experience, and
Well, it
they
was really interesting. There was a bunch of value in it for people that only cared about that, and it was way more casual. You know what I mean? Like you're not sitting down for your F&M trying to grind out prize support. It's just Mystery Booster. It's with a set that size, there's not going to be consistency. So, like that kind of precludes it being super competitive.
yeah. So I am pro mystery booster.
Oh
You
yeah,
are pro mystery booster.
very
Where are
much
we
so.
at on Jumpstart?
I think Jumpstart could be just like Mystery Booster. I didn't actually get a chance to play Jumpstart because of supply chain issues and COVID keeping people out of stores, blah 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 blah. But I really like the idea of it, and I think they could do with Jumpstart exactly what we were just talking about with Mystery Booster, where it's kind of an evergreen thing, and they just kind of you know fluctuate in and out new decks into like the pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the only thing that I don't like about Jumpstart is the fact that there are new cards.
Yeah.
And again, supply chain issues, right? Those new cards are super expensive.
They've come down since like the last wave or two of Jumpstart has come through.
Like last I looked, Monksys was like $30, and we still have like $80 or $100 Allosaurus Shepherds.
Yeah, I think Allosaurus Shepherds are like 68.
Okay,
But all of the rest of them I think are under $20 now.
okay. Maybe it's just it's taking a while to get there.
Yeah.
But like if the product's going to be like limited run, and I know there aren't a lot of people like looking at like legacy,
Right.
but like it just does wonky things to prices
Yeah.
in legacy. Also, like its implementation on Arena wasn't the best.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward.
Yeah, I don't know how you fix it. I know
Yeah, I'm
we've
not
talked
sure.
about before like content creators being like, I just want to buy a bunch of packs
Yeah.
and just let me crack packs so I can get the cards I need. And like, with the fact that you had like rare and uncommon and common packs, like you're like, I'm gonna take the elves one and hope I get Allosaurus Shepherd. Oh, I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't need this pack. Right.
Right.
So it's just awkward in that regard.
hmm No, I definitely think there's a better way to do it on Arena, but I think the product is cool in paper form. I think that it more or less does its job where it's, getting more casual players to sit down and play in the store. I think it would be cool again to maybe expand the pool of decks, like maybe until the, pool of available decks is bigger. It doesn't matter so much that you like take a deck out when you add a new one. But again, I don't know that we need anything as pushed as Allosaurus Shepherd and Jumpstart, but it is kind of neat that it's a place for some chase cards too. I think that that's important for like getting more casual players to play like in a store, is to give them something for their time. Like if you're just drafting whatever standard legal set is there, like there's kind of a hard cap on what you're going to open for the most part. And like for a new player, like if you're trying to get into constructed and all you have is, this little bit of draft chaff from this draft that you did, it can be kind of hard to turn one into another. But I think the chance of, somebody new opening an Allosaurus Shepherd, sitting down playing Jumpstart and then, trade it back into the store and building most of a standard deck off of that, I think is awesome.
Fair. I also like with the way cards are designed, like any new places to put cards
Yeah.
just tends to give more chances to break legacy and commander.
Yeah.
I guess also in the same vein, we left a product off Imagine that.
Okay.
Commander Legends.
Okay.
Like,
Yep.
I didn't get to play that at all. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I haven't. No, I didn't play it at all either.
Like, conceptually, it's neat. We talked about in the pre-show that Hull Breacher was banned from Vintage Cubes due to power level reasons.
Yikes.
Yeah. Now, it was mainly because of the Supreme draft, which was just super broken. But when you're putting cards in your sets that are too good for Vintage Cube, you might have a problem.
Yeah, that's like where broken cards are played.
Yes, it's like, hey, we have Ancestral Recall. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, here's Hull Breacher. Can't have that. Get it out.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Here's Black Lotus. Fine. Hull Breacher, no. They were trying to like come up with a way to get like Commander players to draft, I think is what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. Like secretly. Yeah. And, not the year for that, but...
Right.
And I think they just got to also make a bunch of different commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's been some talk, I think you brought it up at one point, that the commander people are like, can you go back to just ignoring us wizards?
Yeah.
Because,
I've heard that complaint a couple times.
Because, whenever wizards turns their eye to you, much like the Eye of Sauron, nothing good happens.
Correct.
So, I think people liked Commander more when it was just like, I'm going to take these cards not designed for this multiplayer format and make them do something.
Mm-hmm.
And now Wizards is like, you want some cards for your multiplayer format? This card's going to draw a card every time someone plays a land.
Yep.
Okay, but I don't think we really needed that.
I mean, there's Commander players that complain about, Commander Precons once a year. They just want Wizards to be totally hands-off of their format. So some of it is just that, but also Wizards' track record when they, hone in and try and design something for a format isn't great. We got Modern Horizons.
The problem with Commander, right, is the power level on the cards has to be higher to break in, especially to be a Commander.
Yeah.
And, as we've talked about before, if you miss with one number, then the card is the only thing to do.
Right.
So then it's like, oh, I really liked my old commander, but now I can't ever win.
Right.
So I have to play this better version of that commander.
Yep.
And maybe that's fine, but I think a lot of people get married to their deck.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to have to move off, every year when Wizards puts out a new commander product.
Yeah. I think I watched a video, I think it was a Pleasant Kenobi video, about his Tatyova deck.
Yeah.
And how, it's just an AC deck now, because AC is, you want to build the same deck, but it's a slightly better commander.
Oh, yeah, the Precon Snake guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, things like that are kind of awkward, where you just, print a strictly better version of the same card.
Yeah, it's one mana more, but don't you you draw? Isn't it you draw a card whenever anyone plays a land or something?
Well, it gives you an extra land drop.
Oh yeah.
Tatyova doesn't.
Yeah. So why are you gonna play Tatyova when you have this?
Right.
And you had a card like Tatyova, she was the only one, and now there seems like design space they want to move into more.
Mm-hmm.
So. When are they going to give you whenever your opponent plays a land, you draw a card.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, I have 4 opponents. That's great. I guess I'll play that. Better.
Same deck, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we have some arena-y stuff, or an arena-y thing.
Yeah, an arena-y thing.
So the arena opens. Where are you at on these?
I keep meaning to play in one, and then I don't.
I'm the same way.
So I can't imagine that means they're good, because if they were good, I'd have done it. This seems like the thing that should be right up my alley, but I can't be motivated enough to do it, so it kind of seems like a miss for me.
It seems like a miss for me as well. I'm the same way. I've not done one.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is I think that for every person that tweets out or posts in a Facebook group that first try 7-0 made it to day 2, there's the person who did like 10 tries.
Yeah.
And, went 6-3 7 times.
Right. Well, like that's like the whole social media problem, right?
Yeah.
Is you see the one person that succeeded and you don't see the 1,000 people that didn't.
Yeah. But I think that, like, for me, like, I look at that and I'm like, realistically, to day 2 this event probably is going to take minimum 3 tries.
Uh-huh.
Right? Minimum. And it's like, do I want to commit the time and like money investment
Right.
required for me to do this 3 times?
Yeah.
Right? And you play goblins,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on the draw 3 straight games and you're playing best of 1.
Yep.
And you're like,
You're
well,
done.
I incinerated that, what is it, $15-$20?
I thought it was 20 or 25, but yeah.
Yeah, whatever. 20, 15 to 25, somewhere in that general ballpark.
Yeah.
Well, that went away.
Yep.
I guess we're going to do it again. And so, yeah, like, from a wizard's point of view, like, I'm sure it's a wonderful way to separate people from their money.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right?
I think that's all it's good for, though.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, you get used to playing in events or whatever in Arena, or playing games where you just, like, hit enter.
Right.
Right? And, you've kind of divorced it from, like, actual dollars.
Yeah.
And so, like, you go 6-3 and you're like, oh, I'll get it next time. And you just, like, kind of hit the thing.
Right.
And, yeah. So, like, I'm fine with tournaments on Arena. I would much rather, like, I've not done one of the, like, Star City events or, like, Channel Fireball events. Because while they use Arena, like, there's an outside, like, reporting system.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like WotC could make a reasonable amount of money if they just put their, like, tournament software or a tournament thing in their client and, like, partnered with CFB and said, hey, CFB is handling all the prize support and stuff for this, but you enter, and it's a 15-round Swiss pairing just like a GP.
Yeah.
There's real money behind it. We take a cut because they're using Arena, but we don't have to do anything.
Right.
Awesome. Right? Like, I would like to see that integrated. And, like, Arena Opens are the closest thing we have to an integrated tournament. But the just, like, rebuying thing, is predatory, but, like, hopefully people are adults and know what they're doing. But it's just, like, they're also not, like, great traditional, like, ways to play Magic.
No, they're not.
Right?
I think, like, one of my biggest problems with them is that, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a terrible person. Like, I want something for my money. Like, if I have $25 to go spend in an event that I'm going to play on a weekend, like, I want something for that money. Even if all I got for that money is a day at a different game store with my friends.
Yeah, you want an experience.
A story about a bad tournament, or a good beer after the tournament's over. You know what I mean? I want something out of that. Even if I have to spend more money on top to get something, I want something for it. And if I'm playing in one of these Arena Opens and, I go 2-3 and get absolutely nowhere, I've gotten absolutely nothing for that money. I got no story to tell. I got no good beer when I'm done. I didn't get to see my friends. I didn't get any promos.
It's the thing where, you've heard people say, like, you should buy experiences, not things.
Yeah.
Right? And you want the experience of going to an event.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
Right? A bad beat story on Arena is not as compelling of an experience as a bad beat story from an event.
Right.
Like, where you actually went somewhere.
Yep.
Right, so you're just, like, not getting the experience. Like, I have played Arena not in the Arena Open during the Arena Opens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why would I pay $25 to do the thing I'm doing right now?
Yeah, for free.
For free. With like more than likely the same outcome.
Oh yeah.
Which is not going to make money.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't
And
make
there's
any
no
sense.
bloomin' onion when you're done.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can time it up. You have like Grubhub bring it, but then it's cold. It's not as good. For the people that really, really, really want to play competitive Magic, I think for like the Moto grinder that has like transitioned to Arena,
right,
that's who I really think these tournaments are for.
Probably.
And then they're also to separate people from their money.
Yeah.
Right. So with the poker adage, if you look around the table and you don't see the sucker, you're the sucker. I think there's a lot of people that end up being suckers in these arena events.
Yeah.
I mean,
unfortunately,
even if you get your like 7 wins in best of 1, you don't break even till you get your 8th win on day 2.
Yeah.
So you hit your first win on day 2 is your break even point.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah. So, yeah. All in all, I think having tournaments in the software is good, but I think these particular tournaments are bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? I would much rather have like a Swiss pairing tournament where...
At least something where you could see like results in client.
Yeah, where you kind of have some idea, you know where you stand. Like, single, like $25, and then you were guaranteed 8 rounds.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let me be the person that's 2 and 4, that's playing against the other 2 and 4 person in the Carowinds bracket. Well, I guess Carowinds bracket is technically the 2-2 bracket when you get your 3rd loss, and it's like, oh, I'm either going to win or go to Carowinds.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have that. It's just like, oh, I guess I just lost. Yeah. And, like, you don't know who you're playing against.
Another cup of coffee bracket.
Yeah. Like, you don't, like, it's not like, hey, I'm not having a good day. I'm playing against someone else who's playing poorly today.
Yeah.
Or something like, I have a chance. Like, you kind of settle out. Nope. It's just like, it just feels weird.
Empty.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem. It feels empty.
So the next two, I believe maybe lump these together. It's kind of no in-store play and no premier events. I kind of just like no in-person play.
Yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily the same thing, but they kind of go together. So, I mean, we can talk about them together.
So, I don't know if there are any pros to no in-person play.
I really don't think there are, but I had to try and think of something.
I spent less money on standard cards. Like that.
Yeah.
Like on cards that we played in standard decks. Like I spent too much money on cards that we played in modern and legacy decks from standard legal sets. Hopefully in the future. But like just in terms of like keeping up with standard, low cost there. So that is our pro.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest con for both of these is I think a lot of people lost connection with the game.
Or the connection changed. And this was like a whole nother thing that I wanted to talk about is like the odd timing of all of this. Not that I think there's some grand conspiracy that Wizards created COVID or whatever, but it's really weird that this happened this year, like the year of Commander, the year of Casual, the year of Arena, and I wonder how many people are kind of in that mindset now where, if we have another GP or when FNMs, open back up, how many people are just like not into that part of the game anymore, where they're either playing Commander with their friends instead of competitive Magic, or they're playing on Arena instead of in paper and don't have to leave the house, or like how long is it going to take to get those people back out if they ever come back out?
Yeah, you have separated Magic from paper.
Yeah.
Like you've separated Magic from the physical game
by
necessity, but are you going to be able to bring it back together?
Yeah.
And I mean,
well, like this year being what it was, I think was already straining that. And then with COVID on top of that, like I think the divide might be too great now.
yeah, I mean, as much as like, I think has been a major push towards casual, and we've mentioned it before. Yeah, like I have a YouTube subscription to Channel Fireball, and now all their videos come with a bar at the bottom that says competitive or casual.
Yeah.
Right, and that is or budget or something, right? That is a very different world of what we were in before. Like Magic content was Magic content. Like creators differentiated themselves, but like it wasn't just like a label on their video. And now it is, right? Now I think there's much like, hey, casual person, you're not gonna like this Andrea Mangucci video.
Right.
About like the ins and outs of some legacy deck. Right. Watch this other thing instead. This content, this way of playing the game is not for you.
Yeah.
Right. We never used to say that before.
Right.
Right. It was like, watch this legacy video and maybe maybe you'll like it.
Right.
Right. I was like, no. Here's a
Instead
disclaimer.
of warning people beforehand.
Yeah, here's a disclaimer. No, this isn't for you. Right.
Yeah.
I think that while we look at this year as the more like casual year, like year of Arena, I think that if you look at the products that they were planning to bring out, I definitely don't think they were planning on it being like an Arena year. Right? Think about like Mystery Booster. Get 8 people around a table and draft it. Jumpstart. Get 2 people together and play these decks.
Yeah,
Commander Legends.
Get a bunch of people draft.
Right, so like they definitely had an idea that they wanted people playing together.
Yeah.
I think though that when they like transitioned to Arena for the more competitive stuff, right, I think the perception became, oh, this was just like the year of Arena because it had to be.
Yeah.
I mean, long term, right, if WotC can get again, I'll say a sucker like me to have both a paper and a digital collection, like that is a win for them, right? They've got a little bit of extra money out of me than they would have otherwise.
Yep.
So I don't think they want paper to go away, but it just feels right. It feels like paper went away, and it did. And it's like, is it gonna come back? Was it Patrick Sullivan a while back when Magic would say like, "Oh, we don't compete with fill in the blank game." Was like, no, you compete with everything because you're just competing with people's free time.
Yeah, you compete with movies, you compete with going out to dinner, you compete with everything.
Yeah. And, we had talked about, I think before, either together or, on the show, that when Standard gets bad, right, and people stop going to F&M, right, and they go to a movie or they do something else, right, it's hard to get them to go back to F&M because they've settled into a new routine.
Yep.
And it might just be like now people, instead of like going to F&M, have settled into a routine of, oh, I play the F&M at home event on Arena, or I just play Arena on Friday nights, or oh, like me, I didn't play video games for years. I've played so many video games this year. Like I'm working on like my completion. Like I've beat like 4 or 5 games, and that hasn't happened in like forever.
Yeah.
And so that's gonna be something that's gonna be hard for me to like, maybe step away from.
Yeah.
Where maybe I will, but maybe 3 or 4 people at your local game store don't.
Right.
And I go, what happened to Tim? Oh, Tim got a PlayStation 5. And everyone goes, lucky Tim. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're never going to see Tim again. I go, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right?
He's just gone.
Yeah, where Tim's PlayStation 5 money might have been, 4 boxes of the new set. But no, he got a PlayStation 5 instead. Now we've lost him.
Because it was easier to find than Magic product this year.
Yeah. Right? Or at least it was more usable.
Yeah.
So
well, and like that was kind of my point behind like the other half of this. Like we've been talking about the Arena half, but that was my kind of point behind like the Commander half of this too, is it seems like this was billed as the year of Commander, but it seems like Commander has kind of weathered the storm a little bit better than other forms of Magic have. Like there's software out there to run paper Commander games over the internet using your webcam.
Yeah.
And like people aren't doing that for Modern or Pioneer.
I think that it's kind of like Commander being a more social thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason that Commander has maybe survived better is you're hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
And you happen to be playing a game of Commander.
Right. It's more of an activity than a game.
Yeah. As opposed to, I'm going to set up a webcam so I can grind out like Pioneer games to learn a matchup.
Right.
Right. Like that's something that's like that people aren't going to do. But if you're like, oh man, I want to hang out with my 3 friends and I can't.
Yeah.
Or the only way, we always used to play Commander, so we'll figure out a way to play Commander and so we can hang out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, think about like, what is it? The Commander Fest that like Channel Fireball have been running, that they've been like streaming people with their like janky, like I duct taped a webcam to a straw and that's my setup. And they've been streaming those people playing paper Commander, doing commentary and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's,
a lot of the content creators have been posting like that kind of stuff on YouTube too, where you never used to see it.
There aren't legacy tournaments where people are like doing their webcam.
Right.
And doing this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, those go on Magic Online.
Yeah.
I mean, we also saw, I forget what article, it was like a Blogatog thing where like Morrow kind of like said the quiet part out loud, where he was like, basically didn't say Commander's the format that like is most important.
Yeah.
But the subtext of the sentence was, it's hard to design. It was like, oh, I know what it was. He was talking about how like someone was like, why can't we have effects like Mana Tithe and White more often? Yeah. Like, you know, if it's just something that shows up once every couple years, right? Then that's going to be something that White does, but it doesn't have to do all the time.
Yeah.
And Morrow was like, well, since the main format of Magic now pulls cards from all across Magic's history, if we do stuff like that, it's not like White just does it sometimes, it does it all the time.
Right.
And everyone was like, oh, see, he's saying that Commander is like the main Magic format.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that would have been something that was said like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I just said, this year was supposed to be billed as the year of Commander, so.
Yeah. Where they were trying to like, you know, shine a brighter spotlight on it.
Right.
It's like, it seems hard to build Commander out when you have the like problem of like, what kind of deck are you playing on a scale of 1 to 10? And you're like, I'm playing a 6. And then you're like, you know, 3 turns in and someone's like, that's not a 6, that's an 8.
Yeah.
And then there's like hurt feelings.
Yeah. It is kind of awkward. And from personal experience, like how much fun I have in a game of Commander definitely depends on who I'm playing with. And part of it probably is the power level. Like, you know, I've got all these cards for Legacy that I spent, you know, a whole bunch of money on. I'll be damned if I'm not going to put them in my Commander deck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I sit down next to somebody else and like I get nasty looks for playing a Mox Diamond or Dual Lands or whatever.
Oh yeah, like if I was playing Commander,
these cards because I own them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if I was playing Commander, you better damn well believe it's going to be like turn 1 Ancient Tomb Soul Ring, Grim Monolith. Something else, like, well, not just gonna be like Bloodfell Caves Go. No.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then it just seems hard, right? Because it's not something where like when you play competitive Magic, you understand that everyone's trying to win.
Right. Every deck you run into is going to be optimized.
Yeah. And if your deck's not, like, you know that going in, and you're like, okay, well, this is the thing that happens. Yeah. But in Commander, there's that range of, like, I want to have fun to, like, I want to win.
Right.
And if you put the I want to have fun person with the I want to win person, neither person enjoys it.
Right.
Right? Because the person who wins the game, right, is kind of like, well, that wasn't, you know, great because their deck wasn't
There was
very
no
good.
challenge.
Yeah. And the person who lost is like, this is awful.
Yeah, I didn't get to do my thing.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Even if your thing was play ladies looking left.
Yes.
I didn't get to play any ladies. I just
Oh.
died. I know we've talked a bunch about like or we've mentioned it on the show at least about how when you're looking to practice a matchup or build a sideboard or sideboard guide or come up with a plan or whatever, you're looking for like those small percentages. Like you're looking to pick up a tenth of a percentage point in 4 different places throughout like your sideboard strategy. Whereas in Commander, you're never looking for a tenth of a point in a matchup. You're just hoping that you're sitting down with a play group that was within 5 or 10 points of you.
Yeah.
Which I think that's kind of a hard thing to get past too.
Yeah. And it also, like, if you're in a situation where you want to play, your dual lands and the cards that, like, you have, right? Then it, like, becomes less fun for you when you're like, okay, I can't play these cards because I play these cards that make someone else upset.
Right.
So, I don't know how Magic... Like, I don't think that's a WotC issue. Like, that's a Commander community, like, thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Commander's also weird. Like, Wizards doesn't control Commander.
Right.
It's, like, this format that they, like, print... That they're, like, purposely printing cards for. But they have no control over.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, when Lutri was printed, they had to go to the Commander Council and go like, "Oh, Grand Wizards of Commander, you should probably ban this, right?" And they were like, "Yeah, we should."
Yeah.
Why are you printing this? Because
we want to.
Companions are fun and it will make for an interesting limited environment.
All
right.
Sure.
So, no pros to not playing in paper.
Yeah,
Tons
I don't
of
think
cons.
so. Tons of cons.
All right. What do we see happening next year? Or what do we want to see happen?
Well, I guess we can go both ways, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to ramp up Secret Lairs.
I don't know how they can do more when they averaged more than one every 2 weeks. But I guess there could be one every week.
There's more weeks than they came out with Secret Lairs.
Yeah.
Like I said, for the most part, I'm fine with Secret Lairs. I like that they're all kind of different. Like I could do without some of the more tame ones. I'd kind of like them to push the envelope a little bit more as far as like the art styles and stuff go, because that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be special. And I think like if they're not polarizing, they're probably not special enough. So I think if we get more of them, the chances of there being some really good ones are out there. So, and I don't really think there's a downside other than, taking money away from that you would be spending at your LGS. That's obviously a downside. But other than that, like as far as gameplay goes, I don't like there's no downside really. So
unless they do more exclusive cards, I think then you start to have downside.
Like the Walking Dead ones, you mean?
If in February it's like, Star Wars, and it's 4 legendary creatures that you can only get in that.
I'm buying all of them.
Fair. But it's 4 legendary creatures you can only get in there, and they're the 4 best commanders for their archetype, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you've got to have them, or you can't play that deck.
Well, I mean, they're Star Wars. I got to have them anyway.
I understand. But my point being, right, if they do that all the time, I think that would wear thin.
Probably.
So another thing we see, I guess, not happening is probably no Magic Fest.
Yeah, I don't see how there's any timeline at this point that gets us back into convention centers in 2021.
I think that like maybe late summer, early fall for North America, Wizards is like, yo, you guys can start doing sanctioned in-store events.
In-store events.
In-store. So like maybe the fall set, maybe they're like, hey, you guys can do your pre-releases.
Mm-hmm.
Like that might be, either the summer set or the fall set would be the earliest it would happen.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing
like a arena, or I don't mean Magic Arena, but like convention center size events take time to plan.
Yeah.
So I don't see us getting into convention centers for at least this year.
Yeah, I don't either. And you have here, like, will they ever come back? And like
that's a whole nother question, isn't it?
Like we said before, or I've said before, like they kept running these. I know that the people that were running them weren't making a ton of money.
Right.
But I think they were making money.
Well, they had to be making some money, otherwise they wouldn't have been doing them.
Fair. Right. But CFB was like tweaking the formula pretty frequently in their last, in the last 6 months of 2019. Yeah. Right. But I'm assuming people are making money. And even if like CFB wasn't making money, Wizards was. And it would just be Wizards finding another partner. Yeah. Or doing it themselves. But they were making money. So I can't imagine that they wouldn't bring them back. But it might not be worth it if you are raking in all this money on Arena.
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to break that down. The first is investment of resources, or like return on investment. So if you've got $100,000 to invest into something Magic related in your Wizards of the Coast, and you need to show your stockholders, I had this $100,000 and I turned it into $200,000. How many Magic Fests do you have to run to turn that $100,000 into $200,000 versus how many Arena Opens or alternate arts do you have to sell on Arena to do the same thing with like way less investment?
Yeah. Like, I was just thinking about like what's the prize money for like winning a GP now? Was it 10,000? Or that's what it was, something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That's 5 people making it to day 2, and then going 6-0 or 6-1 or something on day 2 of your Arena Open.
Right.
Right, like you just paid for like way more people, and you're giving out 2,000 and 1,000, and then nothing.
Right.
And
nothing that cost you anything, at least.
Yeah, nothing that cost you anything. Right? And most of your, like, you take real money in and you give play money out.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just all gravy.
Yeah.
So
like, that's part of it. And then the second part, I think, is what I was kind of alluding to when we were talking about, like, the way everything fell this year. And that's that, like, how many people are going to show up for one of these?
Yeah, I think the first...
Like, if you've got all of these people that, you've pushed to Arena and you've got them in that play pattern, or you've pushed to Commander and that's how they play Magic now, like, how many people are you going to get to show up for a Pioneer Grand Prix?
I mean, I think that in the last, again, 6 months, when they made the transition from Grand Prix to Magic Fest...
Yeah.
Right? It was more that, hey, there's this Magic-related thing going on, and randomly there's a bunch of people playing in the main event. But there are way more people doing side events.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, like, I think the focus was leaving the main event.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the last 6 months of Standard were pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Complete dumpster fire.
Right. I mean, the last GP we played in was Oko, and it was like 450 people or something.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't make day 2, and I almost cashed.
Right.
Like, I was like 130th.
Yeah.
And cash was like 110 or something. Right. So it was barely so like they weren't that big going in. I think that what would happen is, I think the first couple that you had would be huge.
Yeah, just the people wanting to get out of their house.
And then it's like, is it a good enough experience to make them want to leave their house again? Or are they like, oh yeah, this is why I did this.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know how many new people you would get.
Right.
If you've only interacted with Magic through Arena, or you
Mm-hmm.
played a little bit of the store and then you like were Arena for 18 months, like you're not going to have that like, oh man, I want to go hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
You're like, you know who I haven't seen in a long time? Cameron. We should make Cameron go play Infect somewhere. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, you might not have that. So you have on here, like, what happens to Magic if we're not doing these big events anymore?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Does it become like Hearthstone? But with better rules?
It's just Hearthstone with better rules.
I mean...
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't think Arena play is good enough to sustain all of Magic on its own. And I don't think competitive play has the same punch that it does on Arena that it did in paper. So I think that in order for competitive Magic to like survive, they either have to completely change the way it's handled on Arena or like not use Arena.
Well, I don't think they're going to not use Arena. I think there has to be a way that it integrates better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we are like, you know, we talked about it as Snow Globe OP.
Yeah.
Right? And they were shaking the Snow Globe and it didn't make any sense. Then COVID happened and they had to reshake the Snow Globe like 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? Right? There's not that coherent thing where it's like, you know, playing in paper earns you points and playing on Arena earns you points.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, you know, they could easily, I guess we don't have, you know, you have the same login for this mythical, like, Magic Companion app as you do for your Arena account.
Right.
Right? That could all be tied together. And like, oh, you get like 10 points towards a thing if you make Mythic. And you get 50 points if you win a GP.
Yeah.
And you get 50 points if you win if you go do this well in an Arena Open or something. But like if they tied it all together and like made it feel like it made sense.
Well, it's not even like the splitting of paper and Arena. I think it's like the whole competitive program on Arena is not great.
Yeah.
There's no clear defining path to tell you how to get from one stage to the next. There's no readily accessible standings. There's nothing in client that tells you who's doing good and who's not, who you're supposed to be watching, who, you know, what matchups are coming up. There's nothing in the client that has anything to do with competitive play.
Yeah, like the magic.gg site, I don't know how other esports sites are arranged, but it's kind of god-awful.
Yeah. Like, shouldn't it be in the client, though?
So they have the client, and if there's an event going on, right? If there's, you know, whatever, if there's the Zendikar championship or whatever, right? And I log on to Arena in the Zendikar, and there's a banner that comes up that's like, Zendikar championships happening right now.
Yeah.
It shouldn't take me to their, like, trash, like, magic.gg site where then I have to, like, try to dig around and, like, find information. It should just take me to Twitch.
Yeah.
So I can, like, have Twitch open on one screen and be playing Arena on the other.
Yeah.
Right, but you're right. Like, there should be, like, a leaderboard where you can see the top 200 people in Constructed in Limited on Arena. And it should, like, you know, I don't know how, maybe real-time updating isn't realistic, but, like, once an hour, once every 5 hours or something, like, here's what it looks like now.
Right.
Right? And, like, maybe that would drive people to be like, oh, man, like, I can get on here. I need to play more. Right? As opposed to now where it's like, are you following the right people on Twitter for you to see the picture of them hitting Mythic?
that aren't, like, Wizards of the Coast employees?
Yeah. Hey, I'm 50th in Mythic. Here's my screenshot.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, it'd be nice if I could go to a leaderboard in app and see that. Or
here's like Ball Lightning PhD who has like real-time ranking PL you can't get on Wizard's own website.
Yeah, because like that would require planning and like an intern. Again, like they've got this rank of 200 people, right? The people that like stream, like you should be able to like put in like, hey, I'm a streamer. And I know their content creator program is garbage, right? Yeah. But right, like New Matsunami is streaming. He's in the MPL. Or not in the MPL, he's in Rivals, right?
Yeah.
Right. If he's top 50 in limited, right, I should be able to go see his limited ranking and be able to see if he's streaming right now and click on it and go to his stream. Be like, oh my gosh, right? Like maybe that only works for the MPL people and Rivals people, but like get me from like, client to more Magic.
Yeah.
Right? Let me see that aspirational thing. And also, like you said, like, I have no idea the way that I get from my couch to my couch playing in a more high stakes tournament is I play these arena opens.
Yeah.
And it's, it can be $100 burnt on a Saturday to get nothing. And I know for people that like Magic is this like huge part of their life, like, remember when we had a GP every weekend and people would go to every GP?
I do. Do you remember when you had to choose between what coverage to watch?
Oh, yes.
Whether you were going to watch Star City coverage or Grand Prix coverage?
Yeah, usually Star City coverage.
Yeah.
Sorry, usually. Marshall. But, right, like, it's the $25 model is way cheaper, but for the people that are like, the casual tryhard, right? Like, I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to burn $100 and not get anything for it.
Right.
Right.
I at least want a good story to tell.
Yeah.
And the beer when I'm done.
Yeah. So, like, I hope that they do a better job of kind of connecting everything together. If they don't want to give back the pro levels, right? Like, let us earn some sort of points, or like have something to work towards, right? So you can be like, oh, the top 50 point earners in the world are MPL and Rivals.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I can work towards that.
Right.
As opposed to now where it's like, meh. So, again, like, I don't foresee me ever being in MPL or Rivals, but...
No, definitely not.
But, like, having that, like, thing where you can say, like, oh, like, I used to get a kick out of being like, hey, in 2017, I was the first ranked Magic player in the state of South Carolina.
Right.
2019 or something, I think I was, like, 7th or something. Right? Like, that was cool to be able to say.
Yeah.
They blew up that system. Yeah, no more.
It doesn't exist anymore.
Right? But getting back to something where people can, like, be like, oh, I got my 4 wins and I got 3 points towards,
something.
Yeah, my ranking or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, like, the ladder just doesn't do it for me.
No. The more I play the ladder, the more I don't like the game.
Yeah. The ladder just kind of feels like feels artificial, and it just feels like a question of, and I've said it before, like, if you can maintain a 55% win rate, you just have to brute force it.
Right.
And then you get to Mythic, and apparently there's a lot of people that like grind to Mythic and then just play whatever once they get there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why would you do that? Like, there's no real value in saying that you're like Mythic.
Right.
I think there used to be, or at least it felt like there was. And now it's just kind of like
some street cred.
Yeah, now it's just kind of like, you just played a whole lot, right? It's like, I did so many games.
So much Magic.
So much Magic. Winning 53% of my games. I will get there eventually.
Yeah.
Something I would like to see is like a return to like reasonable creatures.
Yeah.
Just reasonable Magic cards.
Like back in time to like 2017 Magic?
Yeah, 2017, Cons block. I don't
Yeah.
know, just like the walls of text that are just like value or just these unstoppable snowballs. I would like games to feel like they had decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like because we've made all these snowballs,
Yeah.
then that's how you get cards like Embercleave and Questing Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, oh, if this game goes to turn 6, the aggressive deck gets buried and can never, ever, ever, ever win.
Right.
So we have to give the aggressive decks the tools to win games on turn 4 or turn 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you Embercleave. That gives you Questing Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, for every Uro and Elder Gargaroth, right, or Oko, or whatever mid-range thing, right, you have to give them, like, an opposite thing. So, like, you get this situation where, like, we either have these games that turn into these long, long, long slogs, and it's like who kind of got their snowball rolling first,
mm-hmm.
and then you're just always behind. You're always running from the snowball. You never have a chance to, like, assert your own game plan.
Yep.
Because you're just like, oh man, I'm getting buried. Or you're like, oh, hey, I'm having a good, oh, it took 15, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And there's like no middle ground.
Yeah. There's no like mid-range anymore.
Yeah, like everything's over the top or super low.
Yeah.
And just getting to like, you know, if Uro only had the attack trigger, still a great snowball.
It didn't have the ETB.
It didn't have the ETB. Just had the attack trigger.
Yep.
Card's still really good.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe you stand a chance. Maybe you don't get totally buried.
I mean, vice versa. You could also have just the ETB and not the attack trigger.
Yeah, like, or, you know, if Oko's turn a thing into an elk was a minus.
Yeah.
As opposed to a plus.
Yep.
Or, I don't know, if Questing Beast didn't have its weird evasion to go with Death Touch.
Preventing combat damage.
Yeah,
or non-combat damage or whatever.
Yeah, like damage can't be prevented or whatever. Yeah. Like that was in response to, oh man, this Turbo Fog deck is awful.
Yeah.
Let's make a card in the colors of the Turbo Fog deck
to stop the Turbo Fog deck
after the Turbo Fog deck rotates.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way to go, R&D.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but just getting us back to a point, like, even adventures are kind of egregious.
Yeah.
Like, getting us back to a point where not every card is a 2-for-1.
And don't get me started on companions.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, you know, I think that someone brought up that, like, you know, Magic used to be, like, a resource, like, management game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's turned into, like, a resource source deployment game.
Right.
Where you always have resources now, is how do you best deploy them?
Yep.
Right? I mean, there are some decks that, like, play resource denial, like the Rakdos Arcanist deck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where they're, like, Thoughtseize, and then, like, Dreadhorde Arcanist, and Thoughtseize you again, and, like, kill a thing. Right? Yeah. But then you draw, like, your Escape from the Wilds, and you're like,
haha, cool. I'm back in it.
Yeah, cool. Like, I just drew 5 that you can't interact with. Awesome. Yeah. Good talk. Bye-bye. Right, just, you know, like those kind of, or like, you're the Rakdos Arcanist deck, and your opponent's blue-green, and you're like, oh, I can't deny them resources ever.
Right.
I guess
or if you do, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess I have to hope to kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They Uro'd into Uro. I guess I didn't kill them.
No, young Pyromancer can't make enough elementals.
I can't make 6 elementals.
Right.
Yeah, but just getting back to, like, where, like, games have give and take back and forth. Because I think that's the thing that I miss most about Magic is, like, being behind but not out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, trying to figure out a way to, like, claw your way back.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes along with my whole thing about, like, spending money for an arena open is, like, when you're behind and you claw your way back, that makes for a great story.
Yeah.
And like I've said for a long time, Magic is about the story, not necessarily like the lore behind the cards or what the characters are doing, but like every game you play is a story.
Yeah.
And those stories are important. Even if the story of how you won with Uro is really good, like it took so long and it's so repetitive that nobody cares.
Yeah, like they've all seen that. But
Yeah.
like now it feels like you get behind and you just stay behind.
Yeah. Or you get ahead and you stay ahead.
Yeah. There's not the like, oh, like using Siege Rhino is the archetypal, this is a good creature to be the best creature in the format. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, at Lightning Helix you lost 3, they gained 3, but you had a removal spell, and then they were top decking.
Right.
And then you were able to top deck a little bit better than them.
Mm-hmm.
When the best creature in your format / possibly game
4-for-1s you automatically.
Yeah. Right? Like, okay, you had the removal spell for their Uro.
Yeah.
But they played it again in 2 turns. Or they had 3 cards left in their hand because it drew them so many cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you don't win that game.
Right.
Right? So, like, or like when the best creature in the format was Hydroid Krasis.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it resolved and drew them 4 cards.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
It didn't matter that you had the Fatal Push for it.
Yeah, you still just died to the other 4 cards. It didn't matter what they were.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, my last card was Fatal Push. Their last card was 4 more cards.
Yeah.
So like just getting back to those kind of games where like, you can be at 6 and draw the removal spell and then claw your way back. Right? Yeah. As opposed to, like we said before, like you're either dead on turn 4 because like your Pioneer opponent went like Pelt Collector into Burning Tree Emissary, Zertog Goblin with Riot, put a counter on it, attack you for 3, and then, Ember Cleave you. And you're just like, oh, that was a game of Magic. Or,
yeah.
Right?
We shuffled at least.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I played like a Temple and then like, I don't know, a Maze My Tome, and like, oh, I'm dead. I just took 12.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was a dumb thing to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, oh, man, I'm just getting run over by this big snowball. Right? To have those games where, like, you're like, oh, I'm making some little decisions that end up mattering.
Right.
And, like, that's what made the game great. And I think that has, like, been lost. Like, that's why I was, like, playing, blue-black rogues in Historic for a while. Mm-hmm. The deck wasn't great, but it was like, oh, I'm trying to get these small edges.
Yeah.
And make decisions that matter. And there were times where like it didn't matter. Which happens.
I mean that's kind of like you were ripping on me during the pre-show about like Jund not being playable, right?
Yes.
And that's pretty much the whole reason why I enjoy that archetype is because every single one of your little tiny decisions adds up to matter. Like what land you get on your first turn, like what you go fetch for, matters on turn 7 and can cost you the game. And all of those little tiny decisions adding up is like why I enjoy playing the deck. And you're right, when somebody casts an Uro and they've, your first turn Thoughtseize and your second turn removal spell and your third turn Lily are all undone by an Uro, like that's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, or like, they play an Omnath and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
They let Omnath fetch land, drew a card, gained 4 life, got all their mana back, and then played something else. And it's like, I can't ever keep up.
Yeah, nothing I do is going to compete with that. So,
yeah. So I guess I want decisions in Magic to matter.
Mm-hmm. Make decisions matter again.
Make decisions matter again. That's right.
Yep.
So we'll see if that happens. So
we'll see.
So, with our hopes and dreams of decisions mattering again, I think
maybe one day,
I think we have a show. So if you'd like to tweet at us what you want to see happen in 2021, or like what you really enjoyed from 2020, you can get us at Casual Tripod on Twitter.
Yep. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Casual Tryhard MTG. Let us know what you enjoyed from this year, what you're looking forward to for next year. We should have some previews starting. Oh, I guess we got one more episode before previews start, right?
Yeah, before official stuff. Well, I guess we have some stuff.
Yeah. So if there's anything you guys want to hear about next week before we get like official previews, you can hit us up also. Drop us an email, show@casualtryhardmtg.com. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, don't forget to use our TCG Player affiliate link if you're looking to pick up any singles with your Christmas money, tcg.casualtryhardmtg.com. Every purchase you make after following that link will help support the show. If you want to support us a little bit more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/casualtryhardmtg. We got some great patrons that, again, help keep the show rolling and help keep us, making this for you guys. Don't forget about our Discord. There's a link in the description. There's a link on Twitter. There's a link on Facebook. That's another great place for you guys to hop in and let us know what you want to hear about, what you liked about this year, what you didn't like about this year, what you're hopeful for next year. We got anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
We will catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internet.